and welcome to the first YouTube video I am creating as my
Take two.
So hello and welcome to Around the World Amy. This is going to be my first YouTube video. I have notes so that I wouldn't go off track about what I wanted to speak about in this first video. I just wanted to make this video an intro to
So sorry
me,
about the stuttering.
who I actually am, why I'm on YouTube, and just kind of a little get to know me, I suppose. So my name is Amy Claire Drennan and I am 25 years old and I am from Perth, Western Australia, but I am currently living and have been living in London for the last 4.5 years. You might be saying, wow, she's Australian, how she managed to live in London for 4.5 years because you only get a 2-year visa. I am very lucky. My parents are both Scottish, so I have a British and an Australian passport. I'm a firstborn Australian, really cute. My parents met as backpackers in a pub. Well, maybe not backpacking, but they've been there for a while. In a pub in Perth. And then me and my 2 sisters came about a few years later. So yeah, that's how I've managed to stay here for such a long time. I am a flight attendant. I fly out of Heathrow. I do ultra long flights between Perth, where I'm from, which I'm really lucky to get to do because I get to live in London, and then fly back to Perth every few weeks, if not every week. Being based in London, I am so lucky that I'm able to travel for quite cheap to
So lucky.
all over the world, Europe, America, Asia, you name it. Staff travel is amazing, and that is how I've managed to travel to, I think it's 32 or 34 countries now. I am an Aries, so I am feisty, fiery, ambitious, very driven, and fiercely independent, which someone pointed out to me. It was funny, I never got star signs until someone actually, 2 people within 2 months said to me, you're an Aries. And I was like, oh yeah, I am actually. Then I looked into it and I was like, bam, I'm such an Aries. Okay, background in how I became a flight attendant. So I was 17, just out of school, started to do interior architecture at university. So I did that for 3 weeks because I got the right score. I was quite good at art, liked creativity. I got a high score, not really, or a good enough score to get into this. So I was like, yeah, that's a smart thing that I'll get lots of money from doing. Was in classes painting naked ladies, calculating how many bricks it would take to create energy and just all this mathematical stuff that I was like, okay, this is not what I signed up for and not what I'm into. I'm leaving. So I went home, cried, told my parents, and I was working part-time at Target as a on the till. And my mum was like, well, you're not leaving and not studying anything or not getting a good job, so why don't you look at being a flight attendant? And I always thought, oh my God, I'm not pretty enough. I don't do look like that, la la la. So my mum was like, come on, let's go, do your application. So I was 17, did my application, and then the interview was the next day. I was 17, it was a Monday. I was turning 18 on the Friday, went to the interview. It's a really, I liked the interview. It was all about these kind of weird sort of scenarios. All right, what would you do in this situation? And you kind of had to I could tell they wanted people to be quite involving and showing how you work with others and teamwork. So it was a group interview, got through the final round of that, like there was like 5 of us that got through out of a group of like 20 or 30. And then I found out I got the job, got really excited, then went to Europe, hadn't heard about my start date or training for like a month or so. Knew I still was going to get the job, but they just didn't have training courses, which go for 6 weeks if you wanted to know, to get in. So I went to Europe, and then halfway through my Europe trip, which was 4 weeks, I was 18 by then, I found out that I got the job, and I was so lucky. My start date was 1 day after I got back from Europe. So I had to fly over to Sydney, and I had 6 weeks of intense EPs, which is training on the aircraft. So I was trained on the 737, 767 and the A330, and I was going to be short haul casual based out of Perth. So 4 weeks of that, 2 weeks of service training, and then I did that for 2 years out of Perth. I was going to Kalgoorlie, Karratha, Newman, mining towns in WA, and places like Canberra, Brisbane, Melbourne, just doing overnights and things like that. So I always knew I wanted to go international. My older sister moved to Germany. She traveled Europe. She did America. She had a degree, so she's the smart one of the family. So she lived overseas, and like travel's always been in our blood, like with our parents, always taking us on holidays when we were young. We went away as much as we could, and they obviously traveled a lot, moved to Australia, and that's where they met, I suppose. Always knew that I wanted to be a long haul flight attendant. So 2 years into my short haul flying, I was 20 years old, and the opportunity to transfer over and do a 2-year secondment with my company came up, and I have not looked back. Long haul lifestyle is amazing. We will do between a 3 to a 6 to a 9-day trip, which are long, but you'll get at least 4 days off after that. So yeah, like that means being based in London, and travel is just so accessible. So yeah, that is how I kind of came about to come to London. That's how I've been living here. That's how I've traveled so much. And yeah, that's just a little intro into me. Please excuse the talking as well, because I have got Invisalign like a week ago, and I feel like I'm talking really weirdly. But at the end, I'm going to have beautiful Colgate smile, so it's fine. I'm getting used to it, although I sound a bit weird. But yes, nice to meet you. That's an intro to me. And if you want to know anything else, or have any questions, or just ready to follow this fun adventure I'm currently going on in terms of presenting, yeah, send me a little message, and welcome.